Hello everybody, what's going on? Emo Tempest here, and today we are doing the Final Fantasy TCG Dawn of Heroes set review. We are covering Water today, and as always, Water is my favorite set, and I think we got some real good cards this time around. As every time, honestly, I don't see... we're gonna be playing Water in a different way for sure. The Sildra ban almost doesn't even faze me, I think. I think Water's going to be around for a little bit, and with all these new toys, it should be a lot more interesting. So, let's get started. Alpha Nod. When Alpha Nod enters the field, your opponent selects a dual forward they control, put it in the break zone. I love this card just for its effect. I wish he was a little stronger. I hate that at damage 3, he's just barely passable for his power. Her power, I forget. But yeah. It's a good card. It's a decent card. I know paired with Alice, there's some synergy there. We have the new Urianger we'll talk about in a second, and Graha also just kind of gets these out. It's just good removal, I think, like for a good card, for a cheap card. Urianger, I think you guys pronounce it. When he enters the field, if one or more of your cards has been removed from the game, you may search for category 14 forward and add it to your hand. It just checks for if anything is removed from the game. It has to be your card, obviously. You could have, I don't know, just put something on Warp is the easiest way to say. You could have, if you got Mistdragoned earlier, it doesn't matter. If your opponent has Yuna out and they attack you and you let the forward die and it goes out of play, boom, that's it. This thing is live. It's super easy. Just they don't want you to do it turn 1 for the most part, but we have a card in the set that kind of solves that problem anyway. But yeah, let's, the possibilities are quite exciting actually for this. Getting Bismarck, Leviathan, Hien, any of this, you name a Scion, you got it. I can't think of some other 14 characters, but those are pretty good, I think, right? For starters. I think the Scions are going to be strong. I think I've sent this in a few of the other ones, so yeah, I'm sure people are playing it already too. So Owaka. I think it's funny that this guy got a card. It's a Mobius art, which is interesting. I didn't realize he was in that game too. Backup Merchant. When Owaka enters the field, if you control 3 or more backups, draw 2 cards and discard 1. It's also EX Burst, which I think isn't the worst part, which isn't bad. It makes it a lot better. Yeah, it's just a decent card. If he's your 3rd backup, he's good. So, curve it out. This beautiful Cecil, my goodness. When Cecil or a Category 4 character enters the field, gain a crystal. This effect will trigger only once per turn. For 1 crystal, choose a Category 4 forward you control. Until the end of the turn, it gains 1000 power, and this forward cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities. And then for another copy of Cecil, you can choose a forward. It loses 5,000 power until the end of the turn. Luminous Blast. I think this card has a lot of potential. We have so many new Category 4 characters and already crystal generators to prevent things like, just to make him really strong. He's kind of like what Engelbert or whatever his light face was called from the War of the Visions. I know that one was more like, I think it was just damage that it reduced. I can't remember right now. But this can be a little more tribal and a lot more, I think a lot more abusable, if that makes sense. Mainly because he's not light. He's not stuck in that same, like, I can only play 1 of these or 2 of these and then I don't get, like, this guy has so many possible outs of having multiples in your deck, right? Like, you can S with him, you can just, if he dies somehow, you play him again. You can search him. It's like, it's so many good things. He's a strong card. I think his art is fantastic. I love this one. Big fan of this. Hippocampus, or also known as Cagnazo 2.0. Duel 3 active characters other than Hippocampus. Deal 1000 damage for every 2 characters you control. All the forwards your opponent controls. Then until the end of the turn, Hippocampus also becomes a forward of 8,000 power. You can only use this ability once per turn. So, yes, kind of reminds me of Cagnazo, not gonna lie. Cagnazo would come in, everything would reduce by 1,000, I believe, for every 2 characters, 2 water characters. Then you would lift him and do it again, right? Now, the same could be kind of said for Hippocampus, where he'll tap 3, you'll deal whatever, let's say 4 or 5k, and then we'll, you know, kind of bounce him and play him again somehow. I don't know if it's going to be as good, but it definitely has the same characteristics that I feel, you know, as King Naso did in the past. I like it for that reason. I just don't know. I think Wind Water is where he'll find his home, if one at all. But yeah. Blue Goo. When Blue Goo enters the field, choose a forward, dull it, or activate it. You can pay 1 and tap 1 water and tap Blue Goo and put him in the break zone. Choose an auto ability that's choosing a forward you control and cancel its effect. I like this a lot. You know, we already got some auto ability cancel from water last set, or 2 sets ago, I forget. The Leviathan, and this is just adding to that. Blue Goo's, I think Blue Goo's going to be a good one of, and anything that plays Realm. Maybe just like if we have depending on the deck, right? I think he might just be a soft one of for your deck as well. And the more monster decks, the more the monster deck evolves, I think Blue Goo might be helpful as well. Auto abilities that choose 1 forward, or, you know, it's a little conditional obviously, but it's still better than nothing, I think. So he might see some play, I think. I'm hoping for him. Fremelda, Sword Saint. When Fremelda attacks, draw 1 card, then discard a card. When you discard a forward by this effect, choose a forward until the end of the turn. It loses 3,000 power, and Fremelda gains 3,000 power. Too many words, not enough like value. It's a common. This Fremelda, this is twice. I think the Fremelda we got last time was like better because at damage 3 or 5 or something, it did like it brought something back or something. I don't know, but this one's worse, so I'm not interested. This job Sword Saint from Tactics to a Tactics Advanced 2 is just could be better. Porum, this cute little cutesy pootsy art here. When Porum enters the field or is put from the field into the break zone, draw a card and then discard a card. If the discarded card is category 4, also gain a crystal. So quite some interesting synergy there. We saw Cecil, you know, have some synergy with 4, so there's more synergy here with this. I don't know. Again, I think I said this talking about Palom. I don't know if this one especially warrants like the combo. I don't know. I think we might still end up playing the legendary or even the other one, the EX Burst one. But we'll see. There's a world where this one might see play, mainly with that other Cecil, right? If we have just tons of crystals and stuff, and a Cat 4 list. The Fiend, the last of the Warring Triad, depending on which order you saw these in. During each turn, when your opponent casts a summon for the first time in that turn, cancel its effect, which is just one of a kind effect. During each turn, when the Fiend is chosen by your opponent's ability for the first time in that turn, cancel its effect. So Illua Bubble at damage 3, and then at damage 5 gains 1,000 power Brave, and if the Fiend is dealt damage less than the Fiend's power, damage becomes 0 instead. What an amazing card. This card is going to change everything, by the way. If you guys hadn't suspected, just dropping him, you know, mid game is just going to be like, oh well, now I have a big problem. Put him next to Blue Goo, you're really in trouble. And what else is there to do, man? I don't know. I think Water had all the necessary like cards it needed right now to do stuff, but a Fiend right on the back heel of that, or the back end of your deck, is just like, come on, man, that's not even fair. Yeah, so much control with this card, I think. I wonder if it's enough to make summons a little less viable this set, but I'll have to, I mean, only time will tell for sure. I'm definitely going to be working in with him right away as soon as I get my cards. I expect to have, you know, a new version of Model Water out for you guys shortly, so look forward to that. Mist, Warp 4 for free. When Warp is removed, when a Warp counter is removed from Mist, look at the top cards of your deck. You may put it to the break zone. This effect will only trigger if Mist is removed from the game. When Mist enters, draw a card. So when we first saw this, we thought it was silly, but then I went over it again. It's actually pretty good. The best part is you can actually have multiples triggering, and then you can kind of just filter faster. So I guess pros and cons too is yes, sometimes you might double want to keep the card that you're going to get next turn, or you're just milling faster, which is good for Lena and the Leviathan combo. Also, like, you know, it's a good way to speed the deck up a lot. You are losing a lot of cards, so it really just depends on what we're doing with all of that, like, stuff going on. And then when it enters draw a card too, which is also just speeds things up so much faster. We talked about Oriandra earlier just a few cards ago, and this is like turn 1 is if you draw Mist Oriandra, it's play Mist, Warp Mist, play Oriandra, search forward, free, right? And we go from there. I'm also liking this with like you know, some older cards like Golbez or Vayne. Yeah, just lots of things, lots of potential in this one. I think it's definitely going to see play, so really good for a rare. Amelia Duel. I'm actually really happy that this finally got a card. I've been asking about, like, we've been asking for more tactics cards for a long time, and I wish it wasn't this art, honestly. I think she deserves her own art, like a fresh coat of paint, if you will. But I'm patient, and I'm sure we'll get it. When Amelia Duel enters the field, choose a forward your opponent controls. As long as Amelia Duel is on the field, it loses all its abilities. That's quite toxic, I think. But it's a good answer to stuff like any of the Warring Triads, kind of like mostly the Demon, I think, and the Fiend before Damage 3. So I'm actually considering, like, she might make her way into a deck. She's a lot stronger than I'm giving her credit for too. Reminds me of Halicarnassus, kind of. You play it, just blanks the board right away, kind of sets up a turn for you. But this, on the other hand, is just kind of like, okay, now your forward kind of just sits there, and so it doesn't give it a lot of options to do stuff. I think it's very cool. Unfortunately, it gets wrecked by Amaterasu, which is, you know, always a big deal. But think of, if the Fiend is out, then you can play these for free. So, I mean, worry free, really. But Yuna, still a fantastic card. Man, I saw what this one looked like already in person. I'm sold. When Yuna is chosen by your opponent's abilities, you may discard a summon. When you do so, cancel that effect. When you cast a summon, draw a card. This effect will only trigger once per turn. And then S, Holy, choose a forward, deal 3,000 damage for each summon in your break zone. That S alone is just, you know, kill city. Nothing should live that unless you're being, all your stuff from the break zone is being removed faster than you can put it in there. But maybe not so much with Mist. Who knows? Yeah. I like this card a lot. I'm not sure where to go anymore. I was thinking, like, obviously a summoner deck, you know, but the Rydia, the problem with that is that I'd rather play the Rydia backup than I would the Rydia forward for that list. And so I would also rather just play the Yuna for that list as well. So I have to find somewhere for this, but I'm thinking we go to like a more traditional wind water list for this as well, because we have so many ways to search Yuna, as well as 10 support in general. So I think that's where it'll lie, but we'll see. I like her for a legendary. This and the Fiend are very cool. Unicorn. Select one of the following 2 actions. If you control a category 6 forward, select up to 2 of the following actions instead. So choose a forward, activate it, draw a card, and then choose a forward of cost 4 less your opponent controls, return it to its owner's hand. I think it's really interesting to me that this is like, I want to say this is the first one that we've gotten with a category stipulation for benefits, as far as summons go anyway. So really it's just a fairy, like a 2-cost fairy, like it's a fairy summon without the EX burst, right? Activate something, draw. We used to love that card back in the day. I still kind of love that card sometimes today. Like, I think it's still a great card, but obviously there are better options for the meta, and so I wonder if having the 6 forward is that much better to do both, like, you know, activate something and draw something. It seems like a very defensive card to me, where you just, you can, obviously it's offensive too, as long as we're removing forwards. It seems really good against ice, like if you're able to hit both. And it's cool that it got a full art. But yeah, I think it's gonna be exciting, so just be on the lookout for this one. Again, I don't know if we play it outside of a Cat 6 deck. We were just playing Fairy, right? Reprint of Oracle. If you guys didn't have foils before, you can get them now. Fisher. Tap, put Fisher in the break zone for every 10 water card. Draw a card for every 10 water cards in your break zone. It seems good, right? Like, I like this card a lot. I don't know if we'll actually play it, but it's not a bad one of, I think, later. Luna Freya, Warp 3. For 1 water, when Luna Freya enters the field, your opponent selects a forward they control, put it into the break zone. When Luna Freya enters the field due to warp, choose a forward your opponent controls, return it to its owner's hand. So has an Atomos built in, and then just a bounce when it comes in from warp. I didn't like this one the first time I saw it, but after seeing it being played against me, I appreciated it a little bit more. It's a little more offensive than the other one to draw, so I just wish her power wasn't so terrible and the warp still wasn't so long. So I'm actually, I don't know if it's enough. It's good that it removes 2 forwards. So what really like boggles me, right, is that like, no, it's fine. You can do it on the stack just fine. But yeah, make sure you stack this right. Leslie, when Leslie enters the field, you may discard a card. When you do so, choose a forward your opponent controls, return it to its owner's hand. If the discarded card is category 7, also draw a card. We're slowly getting more Cat 7 cards in water, and maybe this might see play eventually, just not right now. I don't think we'll be looking into this for a little while, so we'll pass. Loporit, call him Loporito. When Loporit enters the field, draw 2 cards, then place 1 card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. And then you could pay 2, tap, draw 2 cards, then place a card from your hand to the bottom from your hand at the bottom of your deck. You can only submit it during your turn. Such a great card, honestly. I love that we don't have to discard it, so we don't actually lose too much value, right? It's just like extra step of like a smaller version of the Artemisian, right? But like also good. I don't know. I think he's really cool. Fits that 14 criteria that we need for Graha and more 14 decks. So I like it a lot. It's also very clutch in that second effect, so very interesting. I think it's a good card. Alchemist, the generic backup. We already knew what these do if you've been keeping up. And then Rosa, the cost required to cast your category 4 forwards can be paid with CP of any element. And when a card named Cecil enters the field, draw a card. This effect will only trigger once per turn. This card is also amazing, bro. I believe it's the same guy, right? I'm gonna go back and check real quick because yeah, it's Yukihiro. He drew them both, which is fantastic. Yeah, so I'm glad this card. I'm glad this card costs 1, but I wish it was a backup. Of course, obviously, it would be too broken if it was a backup, but that's just the reality of it, right? Sid from FF8 was a backup that did this. Or was it that Sid generates any color for... It's kind of like the Riku, right? Never mind. Similar. Anyway, it should have been backup. It sucks that it's not. It has really good effects. I don't know if it's enough to fit in a Water Cat 4 deck, but we have options, right? There's a lot of Water Cat 4 characters already, so this might be something else. There's also Lightning characters that get back Water characters, but that's not neither here nor there. We'll talk about that. That starter deck might actually be useful now. Moving on. And Waka, Guardian Blitzballer. The cost required to cast Waka is reduced by 1 for each backup you control. Nice. When Waka attacks, you may put 1 backup you control into the break zone. When you do so, choose a forward, deal 8,000 damage. No thanks. I'd rather play all my other Wakas right now. Yeah, I'm not too big on it. He is kind of decent in limited, but he's super slow because he has to attack, right? Yeah, there's just better Wakas. Maybe, no, not even in title. I can't even see him being used in title. Anyway, guys, Water is amazing, and I think we got a lot of really good cards. I think Fiend is going to be the biggest meta-changing card in this set. Just such a weird effect, kind of like, just kind of really pisses your opponent off. This is going to be the one that's like, he might like trigger people, I'm not going to lie. My top 5 going into this, definitely Melia Duel, Mist, Urianger. I think it is Loporit And then, you know, Cecil and Rose are mostly Cecil, right? Rose is just kind of dependent on the deck. And so, obviously, the legendaries are on their own. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. And yeah, make sure to watch the next ones. And I hope you learned something. Take care, guys.